Hey folks, welcome to Between Awesome and Disaster. I'm your host, Will Carey. Appreciate you tuning in like always. For the few people that I know are regulars, I appreciate that you're here. Your presence gives me the courage and confidence to continue on. A lot of sincerity up top, leading into our interview today. I'm actually recording this intro for the first time with a mixer plugged into my Zoom H4n. So we'll see how it goes. I've very tentatively gotten it figured out. The next step, if I can get this to work on a regular basis, is to figure out how to do Skype or how to take phone calls. So if you happen to listen to this and have any ideas for how I, with a Samsung analog mixer and a Zoom H4n, could take phone calls on this podcast, feel free to shoot me a message on my website, which is willcareyisfunny.com. That is Carey is funny.com. And you can also follow me on Twitter at Comic Will Carey. On the show today, comedian Alex Fleming. Alex is a guy I've known for a while, and I relate to him on a bunch of different levels, mainly punk music, stand-up, and because we'll get into it a little bit. If you may have picked up on this, mental health and kind of managing your personal demons are sort of reoccurring motifs that I like to talk to a lot with people on the show, because it's something I'm continuously working on. Anxiety is a big one of those. Like, it's that sort of racing feeling that you get when you're anxious, that sort of desire to kind of run away from any situation that you're in. And with me, it happens in normal situations. Like, people who don't do stand-up comedy will sometimes come up to me and say, I could never do what you do. That takes so much courage. And I feel very comfortable when I'm on stage doing stand-up. But I feel very uncomfortable in a lot of normal social situations that I think most normal people who don't do comedy kind of don't think twice of. So Alex is a guy I know also who kind of is very open about his struggles with anxiety, and I want to talk to him about that. I want to talk to him how he manages that. I also want to get into music a little bit, because I know he used to play in bands. I used to play in bands, and we're going to see where it goes. He should be over in a second, and then we will get into today's episode. So thank you for being here. Again, real quick, I just want to plug July 20th at 7:30 at QED in Astoria. I'm going to be doing a half-hour co-headlining show with Tyler Richardson. That's July 20th at 7:30 p.m. Me and Tyler Richardson are both going to be doing a co-headlining show where we're each going to do 30 minutes, and the ever-delightful Christy Cello is going to be our co-host. And tickets are $5, and I'll have a link in the description for you. And I hope you guys can make it out. And let's go to my talk with Alex Fleming. Thank you. There is something about the way this guy is carrying his voice that tells me that he is not currently holding a gun. And as a result, I'm not enjoying this experience.
I think that's the strongest argument against gun control I've ever heard.
Is that the rappers are not going to quite have the authenticity needed?
To the detriment of rap music, absolutely.
Most assuredly. You'd think because there's like a great deal of Southern rap. Like, you'd think maybe there'd be some rapper that would want to do like a gimmick of being like a real conservative, like a conservative, like pro-gun.
It's funny how you don't find a lot of conservative rappers, though.
No, you really don't.
Except for the
pretty liberal.
There's the Christian ones, I guess. Those must be
the only ones. Do you have anyone in particular when you say Christian rapper?
I just know that I've heard people at open mics talk about being a part of Christian rap groups.
Really?
Yeah. I only can think of one specific instance of it. Mm-hmm. Someone said that he was in a Christian rap group, and
who was that?
I believe his name is Rufat. I don't know his last name.
I can't think of who that is. I know that there's there's one, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he like raps, but he almost sounds like Brandon Boyd from Incubus if he were a rapper. Like it's very modern rock kind of beats.
Okay.
But it's straight up Christian rap, like he tours churches and stuff.
Well, wasn't there that thing where the Insane Clown Posse was, because they did the Miracle song, so they were being accused of having a Jesus streak?
I'll tell you exactly where it came from. It wasn't Miracles. I think they got made fun of that because it's just so basic. A lot of it is really basic stuff that you'd think most people would know. But the Insane Clown Posse on the Six Jokers card, it was an album called The Wraith. And the last song, they basically said, "We follow God." That's like actual quote from the lyric. They said like,
"We follow God."
When you speak of Shangri-La, what do you think we mean? The truth is, we follow God. We've always been behind Him. And then I think that I feel like that threw off some people, but if you really actually listen to it, because they reference Shangri-La in their lyrics a lot.
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't really know. I was never too much of a scholar of the posse.
ICP.
Yeah,
I had Joseph Roberts in here, and we got into some deep cut ICP lore. Because that was like the first thing that him and I kind of bonded over. Other than I don't know what else there is.
Okay, I was really into Rage Against the Machine, but that's as much of like that kind of rocky rap that I've ever done.
That's part of the soundtrack to what I assume might have been some angry years in your youth.
It's actually like the first thing when I started playing bass guitar. The first thing that I did was just learn every Rage Against the Machine song.
Sure.
And because I was really like political at the time, also, so it really spoke to me.
Exactly. Did you have a point where you're like, as your social conscience woke up and you're like, no, everything is wrong.
Oh yeah.
I gotta rebel against it all.
Oh yeah.
Even though it doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
Or maybe it did.
Well, it's like that joke that you have about punk rock in the suburbs.
Yeah.
I like just related to that a little bit too much. You know?
Yeah, that's me really just beating myself up for being as serious as I was.
Yeah.
Because there's, with maybe a couple of exceptions that are all escaping me right now, you generally don't find good pop punk in your major cities. It's all either slightly outside of them, like it's your Long Island, New Jersey, maybe the suburbs of Philadelphia, your San Diego.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that pop punk is like one of the few cultural things that San Diego brings to the table.
Right, but I even think, and I know nothing about Southern California, but I think that most people probably think of San Diego as like a suburb of Los Angeles. I don't know if that's true or not, but
kind of. I mean, it's. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there because there's a huge tension. There's a rivalry that's similar to Boston and New York.
Oh, really?
Except no one is aware of it outside of Southern California. And that's partially sports based, but also just like economy based because LA is where the money. LA is where all the industries are and is the big bustling place. And San Diego thinks of itself as a small town, but is growing. And then people are always yelling about how it's losing its small town charm and.
Right.
They don't want to be a city, but they are. And I mean, a lot of West Coast cities, especially like LA and San Diego, both are basically just suburbs over large expanses of terrain with a couple of buildings thrown in the downtown area, but they're all like a 10-block radius.
Yeah. I was like, that just reminded me, Oklahoma City. I was in Oklahoma City a couple weekends ago for a wedding. And their downtown is like 3 blocks. The biggest buildings in Oklahoma City's downtown are basically the court building and where the Oklahoma City Thunder play. That's like the biggest part. But I kind of dug it. There was something about being down there because the day after the wedding, me and my girlfriend went to the memorial and drove around a little bit. There's something almost, I want to say historical about it. Like it made me almost think like I was in the beginning of Walk the Line. Like I felt like I was in a city, but it felt very rural. Like I could walk into like Sun Records.
Okay.
At any point. I kind of dug the vibe of it.
Yeah, San Diego has a feel that's similar to that, except you, instead of being rural, you just step outside of city and into suburbs forever.
Mm-hmm.
And then those just terminate in either a beach or desert. And those are just the things that border. It's this weird. An oasis is too kind of a word. I mean, it's a very lovely place, but
yeah,
it's just a bunch of it's a lot of military housing also because it's such a military town. So it's just a lot of stuff that was built for soldiers that all looks the same. I mean, it's not as bad as you start going.
It's built for efficiency.
Oh yeah. But the stretch of land in between San Diego and Los Angeles is one of the most depressing places I've ever seen. Like Orange County, Anaheim, all that stuff. It's just everything is so cookie. It's like
so
the weeds.
Cookie cutter.
Yeah, no, it's just like too much of the weeds intro,
Right.
Just.
Yeah, that kind of stuff gives me like there's this sort of uneasiness I get from when I go to a place that's too suburban. Like parts of Long Island, I feel the same way. I sort of get this, like almost like the town's like senses that I have aspirations and then like is actively going after them.
Like attacking your aspirations?
Yeah, like if you stay too long, like the way like you could get like radiation poisoning if you're like in Chernobyl.
Yeah.
If I am in the suburbs too long, I feel like I'm gonna like get infected and then I'm just gonna get like a job at a bank.
Yeah.
And then like have a 2-car garage and
then that's just your life and you're 80 years old, right?
Exactly. And then you're just hoping if the kids call.
I used to say San Diego it's similar but different, but I'd always used to say it's like the island of the lotus eaters in the Odyssey. If you're familiar, where the people just sit around all day and eat lotus, and the lotus makes them feel good, and then and it's nice. It's a nice island, but then you're trapped there forever and you never get to go home.
Yeah.
That's a larger, the going home is the metaphor for the ambition or whatever you want. But.
Yeah, exactly. And I always live by the Thomas Wolfe method of you can't go home again. Every time I go back to where I grew up, it's I have the one friend who's still there from high school, the punk rock girl who I've been friends with for 10 years. There's my mom, and there's my dad, and there's my stepmom, and that's about it. Other than that, as the when you go, I don't know if you've had this, but like you go back and you're like, oh, that store's not that store anymore,
yep.
Or oh, we have all these chains now, or oh, my favorite restaurant got closed because they were being racist against some of their employees.
Oh yeah.
Like, I want to ask you, are you from California?
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if that was unclear.
I was thinking that you were. But then for some reason, I always had this idea in my head that you were from Boston.
Huh. Well, I lived in Boston. I went to school in Boston, and I lived there for a year after I graduated. But everyone in Boston assumed I was from New York. Like no one ever was like, "Oh, you're from California. That makes sense." I think it was just because I was an indoor kid, and we don't really.
Right. You have a look about you that is very. I don't play outside often. And that's not to be an insult, that because I'm the same way. I'm pale and I'm really overweight.
Yeah, no, I think my arms would be shockingly white if it wasn't for the amount of hair that's all over them, and it kind of masks it and puts some color on me. But I did used to go play soccer, and I liked going to the beach when I was a kid. But then something happened when my family got a computer, and I just stopped going outside.
Just kind of latched onto that.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Southern California.
Yes.
And what's your family situation like? What did the folks do?
My mom so I was born in Los Angeles and we moved to San Diego when I was 10. My mom used to work on movie sets as a studio teacher when we were in LA, and as a private piano teacher. She's a musician and a music teacher.
Sweet.
And my dad is an inventor who used to work in R&D departments doing industrial design. So when we were in LA, he was working for a company that, first he was working for a company that designed stuff for Ronco, and then he, after that, was working for an earplug company, designing all the greatest safety technology for industrial workers. And then after NAFTA got signed,
Right.
the company moved its factory over the border, and so we moved down to San Diego. And my mom got a job at a public school teaching choir. Not a lot of market for private piano lessons in San Diego.
In the military town.
Yeah, I mean, LA, everyone. She used to
everybody.
She used to teach piano to John Lithgow's daughter and the
Cool.
child of the guitarist from Wings.
Yeah, I can't think of their name, but yeah. So I imagine you bump into people like 6 degrees of everybody and teaching piano in Los Angeles.
I'm told.
I gotta imagine there's one person on a military base who's just like, I really need to learn how to express myself through piano.
Yeah, but also just the population is so much smaller there that there's enough there's enough people who can teach you chopsticks that you can't really make a living at it.
Right.
But yeah, she's been in the public school system for years and years, and then just finally this year, after being there for I don't even know how long, is full-time for the first time in her entire career, because music teachers are only considered a part-time position. Yeah. And it's crazy because she's now the highest earner in our family, which just I would have never expected from being a music teacher.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, you normally think that music teachers are just eternally scraping by.
And she was. My dad was supporting her for most of the time.
What grades is she teaching?
Well,
Elementary school?
She used to teach high school, and that was like the thing that brought her the most joy. She had this advanced group that would go sing her all around the country and do these advanced competitions.
Yeah.
And that job, they just kept threatening to move her or to take away the funding, so she'd have to pick up other classes somewhere else. So now she's doing elementary school, and it's not the same, but the pay is so much better. So I guess you could say she sold out, but
No, I don't think there's a way in this situation in making a living and actually having an impact on children in a positive way in the school system in this country.
Oh yeah,
I think is a big achievement no matter what you do, because I hate this, but arts are always considered disposable.
Yep, it's the first thing.
And I really don't like that.
Yeah, always goes in the school budget.
Yeah, and that's like, you can get so much like positive, like the kids that are going to really attach to music or art, that art is really going to help them. If it's not there, then they're going to be lost for a long time.
Oh yeah, it just helps you connect with your human side. You know?
Exactly. The first time I picked up a guitar and hit a power chord, I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
There it is. There's the part of my heart that just woke up.
I was looking at your basses.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh dude, I love those. You can't see it from where we're sitting, but the white one. That's the Mark Hoppus bass. And I fucking love that bass. That bass is awesome because it's shaped like a jazz bass, but it has P bass pickups, but it has reversed P bass pickups.
Okay.
So you're getting a lot of mid end on the lower strings and a lot of low end on the higher strings.
Oh, that does sound really nice.
It's really good for punk rock.
Yeah, I was with you as soon as you started talking about the actual like sound of it. I started playing bass when I was 16, but I've used the same instrument exclusively since then. So,
right, it's that's the one you played the song at Kevin Frolick's roast.
Oh yeah. That horrible mistake.
Right. So you've had that bass since you were 16?
Yeah, and I'm turning 30 in October.
Welcome to it. I hit 30 in April.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Everyone makes such a big deal out of it, but you're still the same person.
I feel like I've been 30 since I turned 26. You know, like in my head, I was just like, well, this is it. This is the. So I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Yeah, you have sort of like an old man mentality.
I got that a lot when I was younger. Maybe it's just like the fact that my diet used to mimic that of an 80-year-old Jewish man for a while.
Oh, really?
Well, like.
Because I know you have a lot of dietary restrictions.
Well, that's a whole nother thing.
Or you're just like pastrami. Love it.
Yeah. When I was a little kid, I used to love to go to Cantor's Deli and get a corned beef sandwich and to get bread pudding. And I used to eat like raw horseradish at Passover Seders with my grandfather. And yeah, just a lot of like bread and rice puddings as like delicacies. And then a lot of bagels. Just a lot of bagels.
Lot of bagels.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. So this is when you were like teens, younger.
No. Younger. This was like eight years old-ish was when I first started identifying with 80-year-old foods.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I don't really know where I was going.
Since like 8 or 9. So is because you're Jewish, yes?
Yeah, I mean, I don't practice anymore. But
were you brought up real heavily?
Yeah.
In it?
And that's a big part of why I don't practice anymore is because my dad converted. My mom is fairly observant. We went to a conservative synagogue, which is actually usually fairly politically liberal, but just there's a lot of Hebrew. They try to pay attention to the rules more often. People try to keep kosher and stuff like that.
Right. Do they do the thing where like they can't answer their phone on the Sabbath?
No. We were not Shomer Shabbos or anything like that. But then when I went to college, I went to Brandeis, and that was the first like real exposure I had to a large Orthodox Jewish population. And it because I was always way more observant than my friends. Most of my friends grew up Reform Jewish.
Yeah, I guess one of my girlfriends in college was Reform, which was pretty laid back. But still had all the good food.
Sure, you get the cultural things, but like to someone who within the other like conservative Jews that I knew would be like that doesn't count. Like Reform Judaism, if you're not suffering under a number of rules that obstruct your daily life, then are you really practicing?
Right. Are you really Jewish if you're not like restricted in how you can?
It was very much
through your day.
Very much the punker than thou sort of attitude about it.
Yeah. I go by, because I was raised Episcopalian, which I would counter is maybe the reform of Catholicism.
Okay,
I've
heard that.
Yeah, it's like, the Christianity, it's like super cool with like women being priests and like, like not homophobic. Probably somewhat. I'm not naive, but it's not overly so the way Catholicism has stated attention.
It wasn't like the first gay minister Episcopalian. I want to say that.
That makes sense. So, I got all of the like good like be a good person, don't hurt people. If someone's like on the side of the road, like ask them if they're okay.
The generally chill parts.
Yeah, the chill parts exactly. But I also wanted to bounce this off of you because
Let's bounce.
Because there's some aspects of Jewish belief that seem backwards to me, and the main one that I continually I always come back to is there are Jewish people who will not marry someone if they are not Jewish, or even like get into a relationship with them.
Yeah. What do you want to? What just? Why?
Like I know it's something about like the purity of I guess maybe not even the purity of the faith, but it just seems oddly close-minded to me.
I mean, it's pretty simple. They're not chosen, you know.
Oh, I see.
You don't got it if you're not. I mean, there's an arrogance to Judaism that you really don't hear outside of a shul. That's just. I mean, it's important to holding that identity, and in the face of such historical adversity that Judaism has had, in order to stay relevant after it's been eclipsed by so many of its offshoots in a lot of ways. But I mean, part of it's kind of this insular nature that's just happened as a defense mechanism from these communities becoming really tight and closed off to the world. Part of it's a bitterness of, like, I know I used to just love bashing on Christians with my Jewish friends all the time, especially because there was this sense of perpetual persecution. And not to say that anti-Semitism isn't still a thing.
Oh no, I'm sure it is. It's not maybe as much in the cultural conscience as as it was maybe like in even Lenny Bruce's time.
Sure.
But I imagine it's still there.
Yeah, it's a lot about just where you are, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that was also another tough thing for me about moving to San Diego. Is just there's a Jewish population in Los Angeles. There is not really one in San Diego. It's much waspier.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah. So like people in high school used to ask me, like my friends used to joke about my gold and my horns and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like the level which just I was not used to. And I mean, to be fair, we also retaliated with terrible things that we said about our friends. Like I had a friend who was Iranian, and the running joke was just that he wasn't actually tan or than everyone else. He just never showered, and we all felt, so no one was innocent in the exchange.
Right. Well, when you're younger, and I think when you're like teens, early 20s, that's sort of like that sort of kind of insulting and back and forth, I think, is just par for the course because you don't know anything yet, I think, and you haven't maybe taken any shots yourself. So maybe I have a theory on this.
Yeah.
Like, I think as you part of what makes you maybe a little more don't say that kind of stuff as you get older is you've taken a few shots and you know more, and you've probably experienced more and know more people.
Yeah.
So you know how you can get your feelings hurt, and you know how you can hurt other people's feelings, so you're maybe a little bit more sensitive to that. Like Eminem as a 40-year-old is not as abrasive as Eminem as like a 20-something.
Yeah, he chilled out a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, he even got on some of his music kind of, I don't want to say inspirational, but sort of like inspired, like, that song "Not Afraid."
I'm sure I would recognize. I'm not great with the song titles of his later work.
Oh, it's okay. I've trailed off from buying so many. I used to know every song title, buy every album that came out. Now when I actually buy music, I'm voting with my money for you to continue to have a career. Is sort of what I'm doing.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, do we want to get into that? Music was just.
We can. I want to get into it all. Some of my notes for you are punk rock, Sun O, comedy, and anxiety. That's my notes for you.
That's that I just want to figure out how to make that into a bio.
That could be your one man show.
I would love for those to be my talking points. Well, it's funny because you missed the only thing that is an important part of my life that I feel like isn't on there would be the magic aspect of it.
I forgot you were a magician.
It's good. That's probably it was working. The magic was working. I was getting everyone to forget.
That was the illusion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So now this is how I'm going to paint the picture of how you are now.
Okay.
So you're growing up in Southern California in a Jewish household. So you get into playing music in your late teens.
Mm-hmm.
At what point and you start playing music when you're an angry young man?
Yeah, I had quit violin like a couple years before that, and had started doing a lot of theater in like a summer camp, and just discovered like radical politics, and I was like, oh man.
And how did you do that?
I had a bunch of friends who were really intense nerds that I went to school with, and they were in my advanced. I took a Latin class in middle school, and so that was like where we would hang out and play games on our calculators. And I don't remember who it was, but someone was like, "Oh man, you gotta read 1984," and then we just started talking about like dystopian worlds, and then someone brought up the Communist Manifesto, and then we were like, "Yeah, this is what we're all about," and then we were like a young communist league for a little while.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was and this was like around the Bush election, so
the first one.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're reading about communism, and I imagine like what's drawing you to it, the idea that you can you can share and like everybody can help each other.
Yeah, it was just something that I was very concerned about wealth inequality. I think partially because I was starting to, for the first time, recognize my own privilege and felt weird about that. And also, I was just angry about the state of the world. I mean, hearing about Bush it's hard to remember what I was thinking as a kid. Like, I can construct rational arguments of there's, it's easy to say why George W. Bush was not a good president or shouldn't have been a president, but especially when I was, when you're like 12 and 13 years old, it was just, he was the devil. He was
right.
Yeah.
And you can't articulate it in like issue by issue with bullet points the way the adults can.
Yeah.
But you just kind of have this idea of like, I'm pretty sure that he's going to destroy a lot of good.
Part of it was that I was starting to not believe in God. Or I had already stopped believing in God for a little while, but was still going to synagogue and hadn't really been open with my parents about that.
Yeah, I went through a similar thing. I started thinking, this doesn't really make sense that it exists, but I don't want to upset anyone.
And I think a lot of it was also just like me taking all of the classic bullying that kids with rolling backpacks, because I had a rolling backpack at the time, and I got glasses in 6th grade, so I was like making a transition from being just a short kid that people made fun of because he was short and physically different to someone that you could also make fun of his personality too.
Right.
And that I just kind of I didn't necessarily blame people for it. I mean, I was pissed off at my bullies, but it didn't make sense to me why everyone was taking out all this anger on the smaller kids, and it felt like there was a problem with the world and it needed to be fixed, and we should burn it all to the ground and start over again.
And that's where punk rock is for you.
Yeah, I mean, I had a friend.
Or rage.
It was a little bit of both. No, the embarrassing thing about Rage Against the Machine, I remember the first time I ever heard a song of theirs was when I watched The Matrix, and they play "Wake Up" at the end of it, and I just was like, "Oh my God, my eyes have been opened!"
Right.
And then I just got really into the lyrical inspirations of Zach De La Rocha, and I wanted to make a positive change in the world. I wanted to fix things, and I wanted to be an artist, and it seemed like they were doing all of that. They were trying to make a change in the world through art.
Yeah.
So that's why I was into it. But the punk part of it was how I got self-confidence, was because you could go to a punk show and you could all you had to do was just be there, just show up and survive, and I felt like a hero.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
No, it's all good. No, that's exactly how I felt. Like the first time I just went to a local punk show, that was like at the Armory. So like there's like National Guard guys were being security, so you can't really like have a real punk show.
Right.
But you can have fun. Like the first time I saw people on stage playing music that I had like seen in the halls at high school, I was like, oh man, those are the coolest guys.
Sure.
That's what I was. So you're getting into punk around 16.
So specifically through a friend of mine who was a backstage crew member. So I got into punk because I was doing community theater. As a young teen, and my friend Kyle, we were hanging out. We were doing a production of The Miracle Worker, and we both operated the water pump that would make water happen at the end of the show.
Right.
And we were just talking. He was like, "Oh yeah, I'm in a band. They were called the Human Killers." And Kyle was cool, and so I went to go to one of his shows, and I stuck out like a sore thumb because I was the nerdy kid, but from that point on, I was like, oh man, this is how I can get respect from people my own age, even though I'm a tiny, tiny person.
Exactly. And now, are you a magician at the same time this is happening?
Yeah, I'd been a magician since I was 8 years old, and that was
started magic. So that's your first like performance experience?
Yeah, that was my intro to
doing magic.
the performing arts. Absolutely. And my mom got me a kit from the Disneyland Magic Store. And I just went through all the props, and I started practicing in my backyard. And that was a thing that I would just have in the quietly running in the background for most. Like, I would pick it up and for do a little while, and then I put it back down again. I started doing birthday parties when I was I want to say 14, 15. I did 5-year-old, 6-year-olds birthday parties, and my mom would be my agent. She would talk to the other moms, find out who had a younger kid, and then I would show up. And I was even for some of this, Harry Potter was just really becoming a sensation. So I had round glasses and dark hair, and I would perform under the Harry Potter magician for a couple of I would go to a couple parks and do some card tricks and some really stupid prop stuff.
Yeah, throw some Harry Potter references.
Yeah, and then just get $80 as a 15-year-old.
Man, that's a good gig.
Yeah, it was so sweet. It was the most money I've ever made in a half hour of work in my entire life.
And at that point, are you like professional magician? That's what I'm gonna be.
Yeah, for a little while. Although my dream really was to be a paleontologist before that. I was one of those kids that I couldn't focus on what I was like. Yeah, I want to do that and this and that and that and whatever.
Sure.
And I really loved dinosaurs. It was really an important thing to me. I found this thing in my backyard. I want to say it's a fossil, but I don't actually know. There's an impression of what kind of looks like one of those kind of sand crab looking. I want to say a trilobite or something.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's sort of like a shell kind of shape.
And
Cephalopod, or perhaps.
Probably. It looks kind of like a horseshoe.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
And so I found this rock in my backyard that had kind of a shape of that, of an impression in that, and I was like, I found a fossil. I'm gonna be a paleontologist. This is gonna be it. And then I found out that was kind of boring, and I still wanted to get into dinosaurs, but then I was in magic, and then it was just one thing after another. I have really bad habits with not being able to be consistent with anything for a long period of time. Which is why I don't know. I've been bad at having dreams or heroes or things like that.
Well, nowadays it seems wise to not have heroes because all of your heroes will eventually disappoint you.
Oh yeah, no.
That's what I'm finding out. Even the best case scenario, you'll find out that your hero is just a jerk.
Or just creepy.
Like not actually a creep, but just has the vibe of one.
Yeah, that's a best case scenario for a lot of heroes. Because I don't my family being so Jewish, we were very much like a Mel Brooks and a Woody Allen family, and that was our family entertainment. And I guess Mel Brooks has stood the test of time.
Yeah, Mel Brooks is solid. But he hasn't done anything to anybody.
I used to do Woody Allen stuff for auditions when I was doing community theater.
That makes sense. You got a very punk rock Woody Allen vibe about you.
Yeah, thanks.
You've probably been told that before.
I don't know if I've been told. I certainly imagined it staring into the mirror late at night sometimes.
Well, because I don't know why I have this thought. I don't think I read it anywhere, but I have this idea linking Jewish protest music to punk rock. I don't know if it's the Oi movement or that so many or Mike, the Fat Mike's real name is Mike Berkowitz. But I feel like those are two cultures that seem to dance a lot.
Well, I guess Jews dance. The dances are so silly though. It's just you get in a circle and you go in a circle.
Yeah, well, my favorite dancing is skanking.
Oh yeah.
That's the most fun I've ever had at a show is at a ska show, skanking.
I got to agree with you. I'm not a big ska fan, but the skank is absolutely their biggest contribution to the musical world.
Yeah, you can't not be filled with joy while you are in a circle with some strangers just going ha-cha, cha-cha.
Yeah, just moving around with the legs go out so far.
Yeah, so far out. It's basically it's like your own little Rockettes. It's like a circle pit meets the Rockettes. I saw there's a really great venue in Virginia called Jam and Java.
Okay.
And I saw, it was a bill with a whole bunch of shows, but it was Zoloft and the Rock and Roll Destroyer. They were one of the openers. They're amazing.
Okay.
And then this other band I'm a big fan of, a pop punk band from Long Island called Patent Pending.
Okay.
And the last band was a ska band called Suburban Legends. And they put on one of the most fun shows where we were all just like, we skanked to a ska cover of I Just Can't Wait to Be King. And then the next song we all sat on the ground Indian style for a slow piano ballad.
Okay.
And then we did like a conga line through the whole venue on the next song.
Yeah.
Just the only show, like one of the few shows I can go to where it's just a pure blast of fun. Because I've been to a lot of shows also where you're like just about being there. And you're just like, I will talk to no one. I will only have this experience.
I just want to stand up at the front, be as close as possible, and just let it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right. No, but sometimes, yeah, there was a lot of like in surf punk in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
Like a bunch of my friends like opened for Agent Orange. That was like a big deal.
Yeah.
And where was that going?
Because you were in a, so you were, did you start a band around this time? Like were you in bands?
Yeah. So my friend Kyle, he was a drummer, and I was like, do you want to start another band? So I started playing bass. Because I was like, well, I played violin. It's got the same number of strings. It should be pretty easy to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a short scale. And
exactly. Bass in punk band is a good entry-level position.
Yeah. It's just, I couldn't have fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
So I started a band. We were called Unknown Mushrooms. I was just really into the Dead Kennedys. And I just liked that they had a sense of humor and a political focus.
Yeah.
And so we put out a 4-track EP because my friend had Pro Tools in his garage. It was called Do Not Eat by Unknown Mushrooms. And I don't know if the MySpace is anywhere today, but it was I burned copies of it on my CD burner for everyone at school and sold them for $2, and I sold 100 and made $200.
Perfect.
Yeah, and it's the only time I ever made money from music, I think, in my entire life.
Yeah, I've never made money from music. My band in high school, we gave our demo out just because we wanted to people to hear it. But also, like, my songs I was writing at 18 were not that good.
Sure.
Again, the other part of that bit I have where about the lyric, if the roll calls for a broken heart, I guess I fit the part.
Is that a real lyric?
That's a real lyric.
Oh,
it's
man.
It's on a CD that I have on my iPod right now. The song was called A Harlequin's Heartbreak.
Oh my god.
Because I was doing theater in high school also.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, nothing will ever hurt this much ever again.
That's such well, I want to say, I might be using the emo label wrong, but it sounds like a very emo title of a song.
Very. They had more of like a modern rock sound, but like it was like the first couple of riffs, I was like, I could actually play.
Oh yeah, sure.
Just because this is the first time I've done this, but I want to have, because one of the guys, there was a guy in a band that played, that played like one of the other places you'd play was the local firehouse, and he's like a troubadour now. So I want to talk to him, but like this is like the
troubadour.
Yeah, he was in a pop punk band and then he became like a solo singer songwriter.
Oh, okay.
Kind of went
like a Billy Bragg type of thing?
Yeah, definitely like that. I really dig his solo stuff. I liked his band too, but his solo stuff's really good.
Cool.
But like because this is like the first riff, one of the first riffs I ever wrote on guitar, where it's just like.
You know, it's sad when it's arpeggiated.
Yeah, arpeggios are the sound of all sound. It's like every modern rock song. And then those minor chords, and then you don't change any other finger, you just move the one finger around. Can you even?
Yeah, I think I need a tissue now.
Yeah, all the feels as I hit the microphone. I'm not editing that out.
Don't. Yeah. I don't know, like. But you wrote serious songs. I couldn't get myself to really write serious songs when... I mean, this is something that...
I still write serious songs. I only wrote like one joke song. It was about my two high school ex-girlfriends becoming lesbians. They didn't, but...
But
I wrote a
that was
song
the
about
joke.
it. Yeah, that was a joke. But yeah, and I don't know if maybe you feel because you say you could never write like a really serious song.
No, there was always a joke in every song that I wrote until I was like 18. No, more like 20. Like not till I was in college and I was like playing with other people who were more serious musicians, not just like my punk friends. And I was like, oh, I should try and do something serious. And I just felt weirdly just disingenuous.
Yeah.
Or maybe just too vulnerable, and I didn't want to do it
Right.
because you can hide behind the joke.
No, yeah, absolutely. Kind of what we both do now.
Yeah.
Just like hiding behind the jokes.
Yeah, that's it.
Because I could never, if I could, when I feel really successful when I'm doing like a bit now or like I'm doing a story, if it's funny and it has a little bit of emotional quality to it, like it makes you feel something too.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, that's good because I think that sticks with someone longer than like if I was just pumping out high quality monologue style jokes every day.
Yeah. No, it feels more significant in some way.
Yeah.
There's a truth to it. There's something.
Right, because a lot of times you'll listen to like a comedy album from like a bunch of years ago, and with a few exceptions, a lot of it you sort of start thinking, well, I bet this was really a big deal when it first came out, but I really am not hip to I don't have the same experience of the time that this person does.
Oh yeah, it's really hard to especially with comedy, to be timeless in any way, especially when there's so much pressure to be topical and to keep churning stuff out.
Yeah, exactly. And then because when I started comedy, and I kind of want to get into where comedy starts for you.
Sure.
I was churning out like one-liners. I did a lot more topical stuff, and then when Twitter happened, everyone started doing it. Like I felt like everyone at least had a side of them that was doing that. And then I kind of started to move away from doing that so much. I'm not good at hot takes.
The short little topical jokes,
Exactly.
the monologue jokes.
Yeah, like I know the formula is simple enough. Like you can do a setup and do a punchline with a twist. Sounds like a drink.
Punchline with a twist.
Yeah. But and then when you go on Twitter, you can see like maybe 15 people will make the same joke, and I just like when I'm at my job, a lot of times I'll have this. When I'm at my job, I'm actually doing it.
Oh yeah.
Seems like I don't have the time to bust out a quick hot take the second it happens.
Oh, who does? I mean, I guess a lot of people.
I guess some people do, but I just don't have the mental capacity to I don't have the brain power to devote to doing that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I find social media to be pretty exhausting in general. A lot of it, like I like it. I get a lot of value out of it. I read an interesting article that I really like that was about like everyone's all pissed off about Facebook all the time, but we should think about it as a utility, like gas and electric. Like it does its purpose. It is necessary for some things, but otherwise, like, I don't want to spend too much time thinking about my electric bill either. I'm not going to look at make a chart for when to turn off my air conditioner because I need to save money in this way or something.
Exactly. Then you're like every dad from a stand-up comedian in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
That's what you become.
Ugh.
So like, were you into comedy at all when you were in these punk bands?
Yeah, I mean that was I think an important part of punk to me was that it did have a sense of humor. That's why I love the Dead Kennedys more than any
That's
other
why
band.
I love Blink-182.
Oh yeah.
Because they're punks with a sense of humor.
And they're goofy.
Yeah.
I was a little biased, or not, I don't know, just like turned off to Blink because every single person in San Diego when I was a teenager.
It's like, I love Blink-182.
Well, and had a band that sounded exactly
like them.
Like my friend's band. Well, he wasn't really my friend, but this guy that I went to high school with, his band played our graduation ceremony, and it was like pretty much Blink covers entirely, and that was like school sanctioned, and there were 15 other people there who all had bands who sounded the same, that were all talking about their bands. That was like right when I was on the edge, and I was like just starting to get in punk, and I was like, well, yeah, but it all does sound the same to me. And then, like,
right. But the important thing is that I think what punk does, and maybe from what we've been from just talking to you, the punk bands you like, I think, are a reflection of how you see yourself, and as a result, you kind of grow a really deep connection to them, and then that's why you like them maybe more than you would other type of bands, because like because you're telling me you're like a young political upstart and you're playing bass in a punk band, and then you kind of are a little goofy, and then you see the Dead Kennedys, you're like, oh shit,
Yeah.
I am him and him is me.
No, it was a big thing, and I was singing also in that, and writing a lot of the music, and it just made sense because it seemed like a good way to make a political point that was about something that was shitty more digestible. That
Absolutely.
you could at least get a laugh over it, and that would make the now more enjoyable, even though it is just kind of fetching. It's just. And there's a lot of music that's just like, I'm complaining so much.
And a lot of comedy that's just complaining. There's an entire genre of
so
it.
you just find the center of the Venn diagram and you put it together.
Exactly.
I mean, I had written a song when I was, I want to say, like 6 years old that my parents credit as my first song. It was called "Oh Gee, I Hurt My Knee."
Great name for a song.
Thank you. Also the first verse. The only part of it that I remember, because my mom would like play piano, and because she tried to teach me piano when I was like 4 years old, and so that was where it all started. So I guess it started with like musical comedy, but not really. I didn't really get into that. And then I was doing the magic, and I always tried to be funny as a magician, at least just as a form of misdirection.
Sure.
Because you put in a joke when you're laughing, you're not looking for whatever it is that I'm doing. And I just, like, comedy was, like, being Jewish, comedy is very important. Everyone thinks they're funny, and...
It's a big part of the community experience.
Yeah.
And not just the Jewish experience. I think a community experience, part of the bonding is where the shared laughs, whereas the shared experiences that we can laugh at.
But there's also, like, a very Jewish sense of humor that Jews like to pride themselves on, which sometimes just takes the form of throwing in Yiddish words into regular sentences, and that's really all the joke is. But there was something about being Jewish that, to me growing up, meant, well, if you're Jewish, you're probably funny. Or at least you could be funny, because...
Right, you've got the potential.
Yeah. We were all chosen to potentially make jokes.
Absolutely.
And I was really into very just like absurd comedy at the time. I'll tell you my favorite joke when I was a kid. It's from an episode of The Muppets. I don't know if it actually is. I haven't gone back and checked, but according to my memory, there's an episode of The Muppets where Fozzie Bear is trying to tell this joke, and Kermit won't let him. And the joke is, what's the difference between an orange?
I don't know what.
That's the whole joke. That's it. That's the whole joke.
So that was Fozzie's like anti-comedy.
Yeah,
like his Neil Hamburger
his
face.
Big anti-comedy thing, and Kermit was just not having it. And I thought it was the greatest thing.
I went through a big absurdist, like, or maybe not even absurd, but like wry. Like Dimitri Martin was like the guy I saw was like, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the first guy. Like I'm trying to remember. Some of his the ones from his like Comedy Central half hour, where he's like, if you add wings to an animal, it becomes more magical. Like a horse becomes a griffin, and like a hawk becomes a double hawk. Which is I like phrases phrases like double hawk. I was like, oh, that makes no sense, but I like it.
Yeah. Well, like my theater friends, because I was doing a lot of, a lot of plays. I wanted to be doing comedies, but I would end up doing musicals just for the stage time, because musicals bring parents to see everyone in the chorus.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, every spring was a big musical.
And I was lucky that there was a big program in San Diego called San Diego Junior Theater, and I would go there for like summer camp, and then if you took a class through them, you could audition for their main stage plays, and it was like a legit theater that could seat like a couple hundred people in the one cultural area of San Diego, and it was a really like good experience. And I made all of a lot of like half of the friends that I still talk to today. But a lot of them were comedy fans also, and we would like do the thing like after opening night where we'd all go to a diner and then maybe like hang out afterwards, and we'd watch like Maria Bamford and Eddie Izzard.
Love them.
Yeah, and so that was like those were and I had like a Woody Allen CD of his early stand-up, and those were like the biggest things for me when I was like in high school and starting to do that. But I didn't. I don't know. I liked being funny, but I never thought I would end up doing stand-up.
Were you doing stand-up and bands at the same time? Because I have this idea that you were in a van on the road for a period of time. Did we talk about that?
In a van, maybe. The time that I did get in a van was right before I quit music. Actually, it was here in New York. I was playing in a surf punk band.
And when did you get to New York? Just if I could trace that real quick. You went to college in Boston. What'd you study?
I studied acting and sociology.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I don't know. It was an interesting study of people. It was first how to understand.
Which is good for would be good for actors.
Yeah, well, and I was thinking the acting side was more sort of like the individual perspective, and because it was a lot about like Stanislavski method, and that's all psychology based.
Yes.
And then then there's the other side of people when they have their group behaviors and the things that are more I guess there's the individual unconscious, but there's also sort of like a group collective unconscious side to that. That's sort of the sociology side of it.
Yeah.
I mean, sociology is for all the hot takes.
Yes.
And then the acting is just for the act outs. That's if I were to in retrospect figure out how to make it a comedy degree of some kind.
No, absolutely.
But yeah, so I studied that. I kind of made the journey from being someone who thought I was who was auditioning for MFA acting programs when I was going into college, and I just didn't get into any of them. But was pretty sure I was going to need to get a day job, so I was like, I should probably get a real degree also.
Yeah.
And that was what sociology was for. But then I by the end of college realized that I never wanted to go to rehearsal again if I could avoid it. And then I decided I was going to be a professional magician.
Okay.
Because it was my one-man show, and it had special effects.
Yeah.
And I got to do the special effects myself, and I could be funny while I was doing it because that was just what I was doing with magic. There's a bunch of tricks that I was always a big fan of where there are less of tricks and they are really more of jokes. My favorite was this trick. I never actually performed it, but I had it in a book, and it's like you have someone pick a card and you put it back, and you keep saying now most magicians would have you shuffle the deck themselves, but I'm not like most magicians, so I'm going to give it to an audience member to do that. And most magicians would try to find your card this way, but I'm not like most magicians. So and you do all these things, and it gets into these all these complicated steps, and it just ends with after 15 minutes of nonsense of just going, well, most magicians would find your card, but I'm not like most magicians. And you just leave it at that.
Kaufman magician.
That was I guess what I wanted to do.
Yeah, that's really fascinating to me. That's really funny because you don't think of too many. You could probably think of a few examples of anti-comedy.
Anti-magic though.
Anti-magic, no. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe if you wanted to stretch it, maybe Penn and Teller, because they do give away. There is an element of this is how you do these tricks.
I mean, they're also I guess if I had to say that I had heroes, they were definitely some of my heroes.
Oh yeah, I watched their stuff and I dig it. The nail gun trick. It took me a long time to figure out how that was done, but it's just really simple.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It's a memorization trick. Penn has a nail gun, and he loads it with a strip of nails that are set up where some of them, if you shoot it, will shoot a nail, and some of it's blank. And then he does the thing where he's real quick, he goes pop, 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 pop. He alternates between going into a board and then into his hand, into a board and into his hand. And then at one point he kind of blanks and he has to acts like he's going back.
Right.
And then he puts it on Teller's head at one point, puts on Teller's crotch at one point. And I'm like 99% sure how it's done, but it's still really fun to watch.
Yeah, and still impressive.
Exactly, because you got to put thought into a good trick. You don't want to be a hack magician.
No. And one of the things that they do a good job of is in appreciating the audience's intelligence, and that with a trick like that, you could try to misdirect from the fact that there is an impressive memory feat happening, or you can just let it be impressive that you're able to keep track of everything.
Yeah.
There's this one trick of theirs that has stuck with me. You can look it up on YouTube, and they're performing for John Cleese in like a talk show, like some sort of British talk show. And Penn has him pick a card, and he has Teller in a water torture chamber, submerged in water with a scuba mask, and they pull out the scuba mask, and they have someone timing, and he's not allowed to unlock his shackles until Penn has found John Cleese's card. And the trick is just that it goes on way too long. John Cleese cannot get his card found. Teller is has been underwater so long, holding his breath, that he should be dead. I think I figured it out now, and then eventually they find the card, and it's a big fun thing. But that was the kind of spectacle that I just loved, because it was a magic trick, but it was really more about the joke.
Right.
And it was such a simple, it was just a card trick. It was just a pick a card. That was the whole mechanic of the whole thing, and I still really, really just love that trick.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I love their stuff. There's just something about it that's very thoroughly entertaining, and again, yes, doesn't mock your intelligence. And then it's not like classic, like, I'm trying to think what the hack magic what the hack magic tricks would be like.
All the hack tricks are the Chris Angel, the making big stuff appear on stage, sawing people, and everything that was on.
Oh yeah, sawing people in half, the boxes. I'm talking like rabbit out of the hat.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of stuff. The thing that pissed me off the most when I was doing magic is everyone would do that trick where you, I forget exactly what the setup is, but you get to a point where you're looking for a card, and there's like a couple of cards that you have someone hold, and then you slap the cards out of their hand, and they're holding one card that remains, and that's, of course, their card. It's a very impressive finish, but it doesn't require a lot of skill. And people would do it like after I had done a trick. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, I know a card trick," and it would consistently one-up me on stuff that required a lot more skill. I was so furious.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. Like when I was in bands, I would, I'd put a lot of time into like writing original songs and like trying to do what I wanted to do. I was like, I want to write original songs, but then
the guy playing Wonderwall gets
guy playing Wonderwall, or the guy playing Freebird.
Yep.
The lead on Freebird gets all the attention. I'm like, well, yeah, I can't solo like that, but can he write a song? I doubt it. Just really petty. Before you learn to like, I'm gonna do my thing, and then someone doing something different isn't a threat. So you're gonna be a professional magician.
Oh yeah, that's
in Boston.
Where we left off. Yeah. Yeah. How did it? Where I was in a band.
So you're doing magic, and you're in a band.
Yes.
In Boston.
In Boston, and I had just stopped doing acting. I'd done improv all throughout my college career, and I liked comedy, but I was just, I don't know. I thought that stand-ups were kind of mean and selfish.
In Boston, I could see how you could say that.
I mean, it's just an impression that I had. Or I think the biggest part of it was the amount of ego that it takes to say, I'm going to get up on stage by myself, and what I think is, and I think this is funny. And to me, I had such little self-confidence in a lot of that stuff that it seemed like a huge leap, and very narcissistic, I guess.
Oh, it totally is.
It is, but also, there's an element of that to any artist, that you need to believe in yourself in order to keep doing your art, or why would you do that? But it was
That's
hard
true.
for me to recognize that that's an okay thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was working at a school doing like teaching kids how to make YouTube videos because the teachers did not know how to make YouTube videos, and everyone in the district wanted people to learn how to make YouTube videos because they heard it was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was on food stamps, and I was, it was
So dire.
it was the poorest I've ever been. My parents all assumed I was going to, or I told everyone I was moving to San Francisco, back to California, and I stayed in Boston because I didn't want to break up the band I was in.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought music was going to be what I was going to do, but I thought I could make money doing magic on the side.
Uh-huh.
Because I had made so much money doing birthday parties before that it seemed,
totally.
and I would do birthday parties occasionally and make $70, $100 here and there, which is good. But for a magician, not very good. Like if you're a skilled magician, you can charge a lot more.
Right.
But I was just trying to get my feet in the door, and then the band that I was in, our drummer moved to Chicago with he had started dating my ex like a little bit before that, and I had no reason to be hurt because we had been broken up at the time, but I just didn't handle it well.
Right. Still probably didn't feel good.
No, especially because I had been like, oh man, I stayed here in Boston because I wanted to play music, and I thought that we had a shot with this band, and then you're just gonna leave. And I mean, he wasn't as into it. This was like the side project of a previous band that we were in. That he used to be one of the guitarists, and now he had moved over to drums because we needed that.
Yeah.
And then, so when he moved, my roommate, who was the guitarist, and I decided that we were going to at least, give it a shot to try going to Brooklyn. That was where all the buzz was. And I knew that I could still do other performance stuff because it was New York, and it would be a good opportunity for that. So we got here, and we found a new drummer, and played in that band for a little bit until that guitarist moved to Chicago. So I was just like, at that point, if you told me someone was going to move to Chicago, I would throw a shit fit.
Right. It's like Chicago's taking everything.
And there was just we had a lot of friends from school who had all gone to Chicago. So just there was this weird social pull of everyone to keep hanging out with your friends from college in Chicago.
Right.
And I was like, fuck all this. I'm moving on. I'm becoming a new person. And so started this. I started a different band, and I really dove into magic. But I had talked to someone who was a party planner who was going to be able to get me magic gigs, but they were always conflicting with my day job or with something for the band, and so I just kept letting these opportunities kind of pass until I'd had a lot of issues with my wrist just in general over time because I would play a lot of video games when I was younger, and I was very not attentive to any pain or warning signs of stuff with that.
Sure.
Do you ever have the thing where, like, I remember sitting and playing PlayStation until it felt like there were pins and needles poking me all over, like Pinhead's head was my...
was your wrist.
And my hand. And it felt like it was raining, but just on my hand.
Whoa.
And I remember sitting there after playing like hours of Crash Bandicoot and just being like, this is weird. I felt good about it because I was like, man, I really
putting the
hard.
time in.
Yeah,
putting the time.
Absolutely. But in retrospect, that was probably the beginning of nerve damage or something like that.
Right. And Crash Bandicoot, because there's not a lot of breaks. If you're playing something like Metal Gear Solid, because that was my favorite PlayStation game for a long time, there's a lot of breaks in a game like that. You're like, all right, just gonna put the controller down.
Oh yeah, watch a cutscene.
Watch
for a
20-minute cutscene.
No, not with Crash. He was really intense.
Yeah, it's a intense, fun action platform.
Well, that or I would play like StarCraft and Diablo 2. You all right? Oh.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm
wow,
good.
It's, on the headphones it sounded like there was an explosion.
Right. I would like the illusion that the entire show, because especially there's a fire engine that went by earlier, that were like war correspondents talking about magic. We're on the front lines.
Bullets are flying overhead.
Be like, and so anyway,
everything's just very hush. Wait, so where?
So you get to your wrist is starting, because I remember around this time you had to stop because of your wrist.
Yeah. So I had some issues in the past. Like there was a time I was in a comedy band. I guess that's sort of important in the transition. I was in this band. I started, I want to say, my junior year of high school, and we broke up, or I stopped being a part of the band my sophomore year of college, like the summer after that. So I was in the band for like 4 something years. We were called 2 Cent Canary, and it ranged at any point in time from 4 members to 12. We were really into Mr. Show, and we wanted there to be a seamless transition in between each song into some sort of sketch. So it was just always that, like, camera would just zoom out, and we were doing something different. And it was an important thing, because it was the first time I got to hang out with my friends who I thought were really funny and were a couple years older than me from doing theater stuff, and that's how kind of how I met these people. And then it was the first time I felt like I was part of the club, and that maybe I could be funny.
Yeah.
Because I thought these guys were so funny, and if they let me write with them, there was like a whole process where at first you'd get more and more involved in writing these shows.
Yeah.
The best bit that I think I've ever seen was here. We did this show where our lead singer was late. We were waiting for him. We're like, "Where's Gordo? I don't know where he is." And then we kept going through all these things I think he sent us a note that said he wasn't going to be here, or someone had it written on his stomach. Oh, Gordo won't be here. And then we had a flashback sequence in which Gordo appeared, said to everyone, "Hey guys, I'm not going to be able to make it to the show," and then walked off stage out into the crowd and left the building. And then we continued for 5 more minutes before we actually brought him back. And I was really proud of that. So we'd done a lot of that stuff. I don't remember where the transition. Oh, but so I had been in this band playing for the first time with a wrist brace on. And when in my stand-up, I focus more on the effect that Magic had on my wrist. But to be perfectly honest, this is where you get the real tell-all.
Right.
Is the music was really a lot harder on my wrist, and a big part of that, because I would get tendonitis and just not be able to play bass for a while, and it was because I would be
because you're playing really fast and you got to move up and down really fast.
I wanted to do tremolo picking, and I was really, especially later on, the last band that I was in before quitting music. In an aspirational sense, was a surf band, and so I was trying to do the kind of Dick Dale style. So that was really rough on me. And I remember the last time I helped my friend carry a couch when he was moving, and my wrist was just really sore afterwards. What?
Is it John?
No, he's a guy who I knew from college.
Oh, okay.
No, I met. You talking about Bill Encini? Yeah. Well, we met because the new guitarist of that surf band was friends with him, and he was like, "Oh, my friend has been doing comedy. You should meet him." So we happened to be going to the same open mics, and I did meet him, and that's why we ended up being such good friends.
Oh, awesome.
But this was a guy I went to college with, and he was just he lived in Harlem, and he was just moving one place. I helped him move his stuff, and then my wrist was just really sore afterwards.
Right.
And then it just never stopped being sore for 6 months after that.
Oh no.
And I had my wrist in an immobilizing wrap for a while, so I just couldn't really use it. And then after I would do that, it would the muscles would be so weak, so I would finally free it and be able to use it, but then just a tiny bit of use would throw everything into a funk again.
Yeah.
And then I had to go through physical therapy for a while, and there was I want to say a year period where I quit Magic, and I thought maybe that'll do the trick. And then I was still playing, but after playing music and I was playing every time I played. I always had a wrist brace on. Yeah. But then that just didn't seem to do the trick either, so I stopped doing that. And somewhere in this point of time, the open mic that I had been doing Magic at, I just one day just tried telling jokes instead, and because I was one of those awful people who always thought about doing comedy. And then it just kind of kept going with it. So I always feel weird because I'm not a New York native, but I started comedy in New York.
Yeah, it's sort of it's a different thing if you start here, I think.
Yeah.
Because...
Well, everyone comes and they've got experience under their belt and they've got material and they have confidence. And so there's this feeling of camaraderie over like, oh yeah, where'd you come from? And that's cool. You had to become nothing again, and I just was nothing.
Yeah, well, you weren't nothing because you were like a paid magician. And I feel that you could tell comedians in New York you are a paid magician, and they would think that's magic.
Really? Because I got money for it, for doing my art?
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. But it's also the decision that the decision to basically, because you've almost, from what you've said, had to reinvent yourself like a couple of times.
Yeah.
To get to the thing that you're locking into now.
Sure.
And honestly, I didn't know that, because how long have you been doing stand-up?
It will be 4 years this October.
Okay, so it's not that long, but I feel like you've made the progress because you've been in this city, and
Thank you.
There's sort of a part of you that kind of has to do it. Plus, you have all this other experience.
Yeah,
that enriches you as a human.
I really hope. I mean, there's people who are like, oh, there are people who have a sketch background before doing stand-up, and I had improv and stuff. So I think the weirdest part was from going, I know that I've been funny in the past, but I can't seem to be funny in this new medium. And why isn't that translating?
It's because I think the expectations are different, and the expectations are different depending on the room. Because when people try to generalize the style of New York comedy as a whole, I think that there's still a couple of factions even within that. Because there's like, at least I found, if I'm at a comedy club, I try to punch jokes really fast and just never give them a chance to like see the holes.
Right, just keep hitting them.
Yeah, like if I'm building a brick wall, I'm building a wall fast.
More of an inflatable wall.
Exactly. Whereas that, like, other places, or even like at storytelling shows, because I like doing storytelling stuff, the expectations are different. The main thing is that you're interesting. And then if you're funny along the way, then that's good too. And this is also a little bit of a thing I get with the storytelling community, because I'll go up somewhere and I'll have a really well-constructed story that is really funny. And then someone who's maybe never gotten on stage before will just tell a story, and then everyone will love that. And I'm like, yeah, just glare. But
how dare you?
Yeah, but that's how I know I'm a comedian first.
Because you have that feeling of rage.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think I'm necessarily a very rage-filled person, but I definitely get a certain level of anxiety about, am I working hard enough? Am I good enough? What if I'm not? What if I don't know I'm not until it's too late? What if I am and I make the wrong decision, and then I become that story? That's what runs through my head.
You end up getting trapped in working in the gas station, like we were.
I run my own. I do my like own get out of this. I have like all those get out of this town songs that punk bands write.
Yeah.
I go through all of those. I'm like, the town's gonna pull me back in. I'm gonna get that. All of a sudden, I'm gonna have that job at the bank, and I'm gonna be really stressed out if I don't get to that job at the bank on time. Do you have anything like that?
I've never.
Because you talk a little bit about this on stage as you having somewhat of an anxious personality.
Absolutely. I mean, if anything, I feel like I'm just trying to distract myself a lot from worrying. That's a big part of where all these things came from. Because I get bored really, really easily. And I was an only child.
Me too.
Yeah.
Are we the same person?
You're just no.
I mean, if you were my doppelganger, like if we were doing that thing, that would make sense.
I mean, it would just scaled up. You're just
Right.
like an enlarged photo of me.
Yeah, like if you take like a picture of me, oh, there goes my chair again.
Oh.
If you take like a picture of me and then you just do the little zoom in on the iPhone,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I turn into
But you keep it to scale. You hold the shift key while you're doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know.
So you're trying to distract yourself.
I think that may have been where it started, but I definitely had a lot of anxiety around not making enough, or just having a life that isn't artistic in some way. I had the two sort of sides of it where I was very concerned that I'm being a part of a system that causes evil in the world, and I think that's why I work for a nonprofit now. And I like always I've always avoided corporate work, and that, like the nonprofit I work for now moved to Wall Street, and it like gave me a panic attack because it was just like, I'm gonna be in Wall Street working there every day, and I mean now it's fine, it's just a location.
Right.
But it was hard to adjust. And I think part of that is because my dad, when I was in high school, he was working for the earplug company, and he was just miserable a lot of the time. And he liked the stuff that he was doing, but he would just he was this very sort of OCD person, and he just seemed so unhappy by the smallest things, and I equated that with him because he's in this very boring office world that, like, it was the reason I liked Dilbert when I was younger, is because I was like, oh, this is what is happening with my dad.
Yeah.
So I blamed, like, corporate America culture on why my dad was unhappy, and then that was the reason why there was tension in our family, was because of that unhappiness. And so that was obviously the problem was corporations and being a corporate drone, which is weird because he was still like in a creative position, even though he was in he was still designing stuff and inventing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I built a lot of my personality around not wanting to become that person and not wanting to make my career the most important thing in my life, and so the idea of being a starving artist was very appealing in that way. And I also just I like doing. I'm always I like buffets and variety packs and samplers.
Yeah.
And so like I just want to do everything, and it's not really helpful for getting good at one thing or achieving what you want, but just wanted to do a lot of stuff.
Well, I'm the same way, man. And even like I know the things that I know I want to excel at to the point where I'm a professional at them, and then there's a lot of things I want to do just because that would be cool.
Yeah.
Like the comedian soccer team.
That
I really want to do that.
you want to, yeah.
I want to do that, if only just because I like watching this game so much, which is a really weird, like, because I played when I was younger, and then I somehow got it. I don't know if it's just like, I don't know what it was that kicked watching teams like soccer back into my brain in such a way, but just the idea of like just kicking a ball around with your friends seems like a good way to spend an afternoon.
Absolutely. And is that just like because you want to have the community and the camaraderie?
Definitely that, and because I feel like I'm at a point now where I could be most open personally to doing a team thing. Like I have the skills necessary to be on a team, and then also the fact that if I'm doing it with people that I like and we do things outside of that, and no one's like, where's the D, man?
Did you have issues with doing team stuff before that?
I was never good, and I think that I would make mistakes, and my team would get mad at me, and I was never like best friends with anyone on my team, so it wasn't fun for me.
Because I felt very much the opposite in a lot of ways, where like an important thing for me with stand-up was it was one of the first, and magic, where they were times, it was the one thing I did that was, it was just me, and I was taking the initiative to stand, put all the weight on my own
No,
shoulders.
that's
Because before that, I just really I identified as like I'm very supportive as a team member, but I don't think I can do this on my own.
I feel that exact same way. What attracted me to stand up was because again I was an only child, sort of I'm perfectly fine spending a time alone by myself.
It's the best.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times if I'm around too many people, I get tired, and then I need to recharge.
That's classic introvert personality.
Yeah, absolutely, 100% introverted personality. Like I get joy from the things I can do by myself, and stand up is sort of like that too. And I thought, I could be an introvert and be a comedian. Learn that you got to have somewhat of an ability to connect with people to get work, but
that part's so hard.
Yeah, but the pursuit is fun. But I don't know, because I have, and there's something Billy Joel Armstrong said on Green Day's Behind the Music, where when he first started going to those punk shows and he felt like he was like stupid and didn't exist, he would go to the punk show and still feel that way, but he did it with a lot of people that felt the same way. That's how I feel with comedy. And then if there are comedians that I could also do a team thing with, also I need to lose weight.
The fitness thing?
Yeah, that could be an enjoyable experience.
Yeah. Soccer's fun.
It is. So we're gonna put that team together.
Yeah, do it. I mean the time issues. I feel like
that'll be the
so
biggest.
hard.
That would be the biggest thing. But there's got to be a day during the week where aren't any good mics or shows. Just do that day.
Yeah. Did you do the thing where like you had to be busy all the time? Because that's definitely my life.
Yeah. Like I would get really depressed after. I got really depressed after both of my breakups in college, and I was just trying to be busy to distract myself from just laying around and being sad.
Were you like busy when you were alone too? Like,
oh yeah,
projects? Because I mean, I know I did that.
Oh yeah, I would be playing my guitar, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go watch a movie, and then I'm gonna go do this. Yeah, I would, and then sometimes I would definitely have some days where I was just like, all right, ceiling, I'm gonna look at it for a while. But I find that the times I'm enjoying myself the most are where I'm doing things I'm really excited about, and I'm doing things I'm really excited about in a way that I want to do them.
Sure. You have some major agency or control over how the thing is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel similarly, but then there's the other side of that, which is like roller coasters. I always really like those, but and the reason I used to say it was because it's the time it's controlled being out of control.
Yeah.
Where you know
your brain says you're gonna die, but you know you're not.
Yeah. So there was you're like, ha ha. I'm getting to be wild and crazy. Wink, wink. Even though I know it's perfectly fine. It's totally great.
Exactly. No, yeah, I like roller coasters for the same reason. I kind of like the rush of. Yeah, because I never had a drug thing, so that was that rush, or like from doing a good show.
Right.
Like doing a really great music gig is.
It's incredible.
It's amazing. Or like the first time I did an hour.
Okay.
By myself.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was like, holy shit, I accomplished something. I don't want to make this all about all about myself.
Your hour?
About myself, but like the first time I played like my high school talent show, and all our friends ran to the front and started jumping up and down, and the school administrators were going nuts trying to get everyone to sit down. That's like the first moment I was like, I want to just create a series of that feeling.
Yeah. Well, that was what happened with, I guess it was just with other skills, but like with magic and with playing music, is like you can. I remember I showed my friend a trick, and they were like, "What? How did you do that?" And I was just like, "Oh, great! I'm the master of the universe. I can do anything."
Yeah, it's just that rush of like, "Oh, I pulled it off."
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that is definitely the. I mean, it feels like doing a bank heist. You know, it's like, yeah.
That's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're just finding ways to heist a bank without having to heist a bank.
Yeah, it would just get the feeling. It's the liquid bank heist emotion. You could just take that in a capsule.
Oh, that would be a great name for a street drug, liquid bank heist.
Yeah. I would never do that.
Yeah.
Liquid bank heist.
Liquid bank heist. But I totally would. It's good talking to you, Alex.
It's good to talk to you, Will. Are we at the end? Is that...
Yeah, we're coming in on like 90 minutes. This is like one of the longer ones I've done.
Oh no, I'm so good at rambling.
No, dude, this is great.
I didn't even talk about my allergy or so many. I could talk for way too long, which is why I think it's like, all right, comedy, let's do this.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, it's all good, man. This was a great chat. I have a lot more in common with you than I thought I did. But like I knew we had a lot of the same things in comparison, in addition to dating strong women.
Absolutely.
Hi, Corey.
Hi, Chelsea.
I think that's a great way to close.
Let's do that.
Excellent.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
Hey, thank you, man. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. I had a lot in common with Alex Fleming, and I'm going to tell you guys right now, I will promise you I will get that comedian soccer team together. I don't know if we'll ever do anything other than play pickup games, but I want to make sure we do that at least once, because and I'm saying it on the podcast, so I got to do it now. So thank you for listening this week. As always, you can go to my website, willcareyisfunny.com, and check links to my stand-up dates. You can also go to my Twitter, @comicwillcarey. You'll find pinned at the top of my Twitter feed links to get tickets to my show at QED with Tyler Richardson in July. $5. I hope you guys can make it out if you're in New York City. I appreciate you being here, and I'm going to keep chasing that mosh pit at the high school talent show feeling. And I would encourage you guys to do the same. So thank you for being here. And as always, I will see you next week between awesome and disaster. Have a good week, everyone.